Stun! It's time to take a look at the AOE Legends. Is it Legends now? Legends? They've gone back to being called Legends, so they're not Legions anymore? I don't know, Cyberverse doesn't really exist, but they're still small guys and I don't know what they're called. This is Stinger. He came from Asda. He came to me from the very good bloke called Tim, who you'll find a link to his channel down there and you should go subscribe to because he's a top bloke and I was meant to meet him at AA, but he was only there for one day. I didn't get to see him, so he had to chuck Stinger in the post, but I'm very glad that he did because I guess really this is the only one of these little guys that I was really interested in. Yeah, first things first, this guy is just, well, like all of these Age of Extinction little guys, whether you find them anywhere really, if they're the old sort of classic looking ones that are just RTS repaints, or if they're exclusive ones that happen to actually be movie-ish kind of looking things, they're all just repaints of things that have gone before and they don't seem to be particularly imaginative ones. Stinger here is just basically, well, he's Knockout. I don't even know if the plastic is any different to the proper red Cyberverse Knockout. I have the orange one. Putting them side by side, well, I mean, you know, there are a lot of differences here, but before I get into the paint, first thing is, Knockout feels a hell of a lot better, more solid, just Stinger feels cheap. That's a bit sad. But yeah, as far as I can tell, it looks like it could just be the same plastic, and they've just done a different paint job on it. And something about that is pretty cheap. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to think about this Stinger. He's just basically Knockout having a sort of funny goth 5 minutes and painting himself up with some more black and some black stripes on his face. I think the most interesting thing about this guy is that face paint. He's got these two black lines coming down from his eyes like his mascara is bleeding or something, and his eyes themselves, don't know if you can pick that out, they're painted in a sort of weird way that means that there's this sort of circle inside the outer edge of that paint. It just makes his eyes look really weird, and it just reminds me of a certain meme face picture. I'll probably chuck a picture in here if I can find the one it's making me think of. But it just looks really odd. I mean, you know, bringing normal Knockout, he's got a normal face. He's got properly painted eyes and a silver face, and you can see where his mouth is, and Stinger is just very, very strange. And to be honest, looking at the robot mode, I don't really see why they used Knockout for Stinger, because let's put it this way, in the film the only thing that Stinger is, the only sort of defining characteristic he has, is that he's the knockoff of Bumblebee. So why are none of the Stinger toys just red bumblebees? What's going on there? Something else about his face, kind of reminds me of the Phone Jacker. Anyway, yes, this is his robot mode. He's got black toes and black thighs, and the only really nice bit of paint is the silver on the tops of his thighs there. Everything's just a bit plain and boring. It's just red with black, and there's not a lot of it. And, well, you know about Knockout and just any Cyberverse toy, you know how he moves, because he only moves at the hips and the shoulders, and his arms and legs are so long and straight that moving them in any real direction just looks odd, you know? If he's sort of sculpted with slightly bent elbows or slightly bent knees, he might look better, but something about just these Cyberverse guys that are completely stock straight like this, or even slightly, you know, inward shinning, it just kind of looks weird. It's good to put their legs and arms outwards, but as soon as you start putting things forwards, it doesn't feel right. But at least you could say he's got one more point of articulation, and that's his feet, so you can sort of get him in a stepping pose, I guess. Another thing, thanks to the fact that he's got wheels down here, you can sort of roll him along in robot mode. I don't think you can really do that with Knockout. Something is slightly different here that is preventing that. But yeah, woo. Segway action. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can say about Stinger's robot mode. It really just is Knockout in a slightly different set of makeup, and it just feels like, I don't know, I'm really not thinking of this as Stinger. I'm not looking at it and thinking Stinger, I'm still looking at this thing thinking it's just Knockout. But whatever, let's get him into his vehicle mode, and there's more things to talk about there. Stick his legs together, poke his feet up, bring his arms down to tab into the sides, and then just sort of wangle the chest and back round, and that makes the top of the car. And, well, you know, first things first, this isn't a Pagani Huayra. or whichever one it is that is just the car that you see only on Top Gear, that they make fun of how to pronounce the word and things like that. Yeah, it doesn't look anything like the car in the film. It's vaguely like it, you know, it's still like a supercar, it's still relatively sleek, but it's nowhere near as low and sort of flat as the Pagani is. I don't know, it's ever so slightly similar enough, but it really doesn't feel right. Again, it just feels like Knockout. You've got some black paint going on, but once again that's kind of boring, because it's just all in the grille and it seems to bleed forward across the bonnet and then onto the windscreen. The windows, it's just everything, every paint app on this car, apart from the Decepticon symbol there, is just the same glossy black, and it just doesn't really look right. It makes the window look like a decal when it's meant to be glass. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know what to think about this figure overall. One positive is that while the regular sort of Legion, I'm going to call them that, AOE figures anywhere else, which are just the sort of reveal the Shield, Optimus Prime, Starscream and Bumblebee, those are £6, and all these Asda exclusive ones are £3. And it sort of makes you realise, well, okay, I can see why this is £3. I can see why it's less than the others, because it honestly doesn't feel as good as most of the other Cyberverse stuff I've got. But that's good, isn't it? It feels nice to have a little bot like this for £3 again. That's what it's all about. You don't want to be going paying upwards of £5 for something this size. That is totally ludicrous. Could be the only Stinger figure I get. But then of course there is that other one in that set with Slug, that's the Beast Wars repaint. There is yet another repaint of Stinger. There isn't a red Bumblebee, but isn't this mould. Very, very strange things going on with the decisions behind this character, especially when there doesn't seem to be any proper versions of him. It's meant to be like a one-step one, and that hasn't really turned up anywhere. Apparently it's meant to be a Walmart exclusive in America, which means you might get it in Asda, but then people have been finding it in Target. It's like, what is going on with Stinger? I would just like a proper good toy of him. You know what it has to be? It's just a red Bumblebee with this slightly different re-shell, because I mean, you look at the new Age of Extinction Bumblebee, that new deluxe one, you could just change the vehicle kibble and make it look like a Pagani, slightly. Obviously, Hasbro haven't got the license for that car, but you could do a proper Generations one. Why haven't they done that? And then you have another Legends Stinger that is using this mould, which comes in a set with Strafe and Bumblebee, and I'm pretty sure that that's what they've got on the picture here. Because let's just take a look. That picture there, the car's got one red bit on the bonnet and it's got a sort of zigzaggy pattern on the door. Is that what this is? No. And then the robot mode's different as well. Look, he hasn't got the black on his chest up there. He hasn't got black toes, he's got black shins. I'm pretty sure by looking at pictures that this is actually the deco of the one that comes in the set with Strafe. So they've just been lazy and used the same picture because it looks mildly similar. Colours and contents may vary, am I right? Anyway, Hasbro laziness aside, let's take a look at Stinger and Knockout together. I still just really think I prefer Knockout. It's kind of a sad thing. I want to like Stinger because he's the repaint, and repaint should always be better than things that come before them, but Knockout really does feel better. You know, he's made out of this nice metallic orange plastic, feels more solid. The paint apps on him are metallic as well, and they're more intricate, and he's got painted lights and a painted grille, and he just looks better. One advantage though that Stinger does have is that he rolls incredibly freely. I mean, to the point where you put him on a surface that is the slightest bit not level, he will just roll off. There you go then, Age of Extinction, Legends, Legion, whatever you want to say, £3 Stinger. I really don't know whether to recommend this or not. I mean, when all the ones sort of came out that are the sort of proper movie little things, even if they're just repaint of older figures from Prime or Revenge of the Fallen or whatever, I just wanted Stinger. He was the only one I wanted, just because there were no really other toys of Stinger that you could get on their own, and it's nice in a way, it's a bit of a novelty, but being the only Age of Extinction figure this size I've got, it just really feels out of place, and it just really feels like the Hasbro really have an idea of what they're really doing with this size class at the moment. He's nice enough for £3, definitely, but he's certainly not as good as he probably could have been, or probably should have been, and I don't know, maybe that's just me, but roll on RID and the proper return of proper Cyberverse figures that aren't just silly repaints. Oh well, at least he scales alright with Dinobots.